misery run isn't all as bad as it could get. At least you know what's next. At least you know what to expect. It's like running frozen. Like running frozen. Like running frozen. I'm an overthinker, overanalyzing anything that you say. Never been a believer, never put much stock in ideas I think.
How's it going, everybody? Sorry about that. That was supposed to end on a that was supposed to end a certain way, and it didn't. So, you know, that goes for professionalism mistake number 5,000 something. Trying to do my annual bowl here, but I can't find it. Or a lighter. Well, every smoker should have this. This is my toolkit. Every smoker has a toolkit. Usually it's what you carry when you want to have your extra screens, or you should just always have a toolkit for your bowl, your bong, whatever you smoke out of. It tends to be pretty important. Sorry about that. We're just so damn professional here. It's I know it's hard to believe. Honestly, these ring lights are getting more and more annoying every day. Alright, so happy, this is, cheers to another Thanksgiving come and gone. Also want to just say that. So, if you survived it, happy Black Friday, or happy, escape from Black Friday, because that's, tend to be the worst day in retail, of course, as, you can think that it's so bad for you, but you don't think about the employees, and it's the employees that keep everything running, and it's the employees that are the lifeblood of these companies, and of course they always seem to get the least of the recognition. So that's just how it's always been, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Now, alright, so to put you up to speed, nothing really happened for my holiday. Hopefully yours went a lot better. Because, we don't tend to, I don't tend to like any of, I don't tend to seem, I don't know, I just don't tend to like Thanksgiving at all. Just at all. I've just never been a fan of it. It just, the idea of just eating till you're full, I do that anyway. I eat till I'm freaking sick, so it really doesn't matter. I mean, whoop, hey, new subscriber, awesome, and welcome. So yeah, it just never seemed to be that big of a deal to me, because it was always based around one single meal, and I came from a very small family. Excuse me. I came from a very small family, so we didn't really, of course, it was a big deal because it was Thanksgiving. It was another holiday, but to me, it was never anything. I also never cared for Easter until I had my first child, and then I realized that Easter is actually pretty cool. But yeah, it's back to the original way I felt about it. And today's my daughter's birthday. I'd wish my daughter a happy birthday on the show. Well, I will. Happy birthday to my daughter, of course. But, she'll never watch this until she's probably like 16. In that case, hopefully, Daddy looks exactly the same. Alright? 16 is only 5 years away now. So, I am suspecting, the usual 16, 17. That's when your kids start running away, and they usually run to the cool parent or they run to their cool friends. Those who have lived through divorced families, they always told me stories because, I'm from my parents. I always lived with my parents, and I grew up in a neighborhood where the neighborhood itself seemed like it was always just fatherless, and we relied on each other instead of looking for positive male role models. We just found it in each other, and I know for a fact, me and my brother Casey, we just grew up looking up to each other. To him, I was the cool one. To me, he was the cool one. So it was a very strange dichotomy we had because of the sheer fact that we never knew who was not necessarily the boss or who was in control, but just, who was the leader, I guess. And we kind of shared that responsibility with our friends. Nobody likes that dictator in their friend circle. And I remember I had a drummer, best drummer I've ever met. His name was Ray, and he was the drummer for my band, Play Reveal, and we had done some together. Those guys and we shared a lot of really cool moments, just memories that I'm never gonna forget because the concerts that we had played. I mean, it was very rare that we played I don't think we've ever played an empty house. We got the worst concert we'd probably done. Still had a fan or an audience of probably, I want to say 50 people. And 50 people can be very intimidating if you're new to the business. And so what I was trying to get to the point of this was just talking about, having that leader and that dictator in a friendship. And I remember Ray getting really upset one day because he just felt like our group of friends was starting to turn into more of not a gang, but more of just like a little clique. And we tended to meet before school, and since we all started in different times, or I started third or fourth period, and my friends would start first period, so we would all just meet up at like 6 a.m. or 6:30, sometimes 6 on the dot, that early, so we could hang out before we had to go into the forbidden, the stigmatized uh, building that we called the rat rate, the maze is a rat maze. I mean, my school was a one floor just rat maze, and you literally would be down the 400 hallway. It was called because all the classrooms were 401, 402, whatever, and or it was by the door 4. So that's the 400 hallway, and the next turn you would simply get lost because you'd realize you're in the 700 hallway now, and excuse me, the 700 was mostly like seniors, so you shouldn't have even been in there if you were a freshman or a sophomore. So we would meet up before that, and I remember Ray just getting really sick of it because suddenly uh, my friend who she started kind of giving us assignments, or not really assignments, but starting to say, okay, we're gonna meet at this time and we're gonna do this. And I was always down for it because I could always consider myself as like a general, in this crew, in this clique, and I knew where I stood in this group, and you know, uh, Ray loved it as what it should have been, just a bunch of misfits that found each other, and didn't like the organization of our group. He wanted it to remain just friends being friends. Why do we need to meet up at times? We're not a club, we're not a gang, we're not a mafia. What is this? So, on one hand, I excuse me, totally agreed with him, but on the other hand, I didn't want to lose my friends, and I actually liked being there, early to see them. So, in retrospect, I definitely see where he's coming from, and I completely respect his decision. And I even not only respect it, I agree with it. Shouldn't have taken it so seriously, and I think we would have stayed stronger as friends had we done that. And I just wanted to shout out to a friend, Chris Levinston, who was a big part of our group and our friends and our clique. And when he left, I heard so many bad rumors, and I mean, I mourned this guy. And then I find out he's alive and well, and he's off in Cali, and I couldn't have been happier because I had mourned this guy's death because someone had told me. I knew it was from multiple people, so I thought it was, fact. So when he passed away, I would listen to Pearl Jam's "Man of the Hour," and I would think of him, and I don't know, it was a big deal to me. He was one of the first people to. I don't know. I just felt like I could be myself around him, and I felt very comfortable. And so I remember somebody was doing the drum beat. It was probably Ray or our friend Ricky. And he started doing this drum beat to Green Day's Longview, and I sang it out loud for the first time in front of this group of friends. The only other people I'd ever sang in front of was my band, and those three guys were probably the only people that ever really heard me. So I just went for it. I started singing Longview, and Chris Levinston was the only one to immediately encourage that. So I felt very comfortable around him, and I felt like there was something about him that was so relaxed that it made everyone else feel calmer, and certain people just have those energies, and certain people have these characteristics that bring other emotions out of a another person. So for me, I always developed a feeling of comfortability and relaxation and just punk rock. That's what I got out of Chris. And from Ray, I got, someone that I could relate to so much because Ray and I had just damn near everything in common. At the same time, we were so different. And it just reminded me of like the Ninja Turtles, if you have ever heard of the Last Ronin, which is probably the greatest graphic novel besides Arkham Asylum or Kingdom Come, I actually probably like it even more than that. But this is a huge graphic novel that was just very dark, and basically Michelangelo becomes the final turtle before he dies. And I've been talking about this today, so that's why it's fresh in my brain. And I remember just the sheer brutality of it, and it was just so awesome. And I forgot why I was bringing it. Oh, he basically Michelangelo is the final turtle, and he talks about how he misses his brothers so much. And when he talks about it, he talks about how they were so different, and yet they were all the same. And I think that's what I felt with my clique in Mather high school, because these guys were so different from me, but yet we're all the same. We had we had lesbians and gays and straights, and we were all just misfits, and we all just didn't have any fucks to give. None of us did. And we preferred to go against the grain and didn't mind any of the shit that we went through. We weren't bullied because we had the numbers, but we were easy targets, I guess, but we were cool with everybody. And it definitely goes against our topic, which is film. I wanted to really talk about movies and TV. So, because it's that time of year where you're going to start seeing all the Christmas movies coming out, and I believe even Guardians of the Galaxy is doing a Christmas special. And so life was just so different when it came to all the movies I had watched about entering college and entering high school. And I remember watching these movies like in a row. I watched some of these movies before I started my freshman year. That's literally how nervous I was, because I'd never left my grammar school before, other than for summer schools. And I remember not having pleasant experiences in summer schools because they were my neighborhood schools, and I think I was just bullied because I went to a good school and I had a better education and I corrected teachers. So I did it as a show of defiance, but it seemed like my cohorts and fellow peers, my peers didn't necessarily share the same sentiment. So they thought I was showing off and showing that I was smarter than them. But no, I was just trying to piss off the teacher. And that's what I do. But so yeah, I got beat up. So when I got in high school, I didn't want that to happen. And I was going into a high school that was next to my grammar school, so I felt safe. But then I found out all the people that I went to grammar school with, I wasn't in any classes with. So I wasn't going to have any backup. And, you need someone watching your back. I think Mike says it best in Better Call Saul, or no, what? No, it was Breaking Bad. When he says, it doesn't hurt to have someone watch your back. And yeah, it's for me, that's what I always had. I always ran with a bunch of people. So my experience to high school was so different from film that I just thought maybe that's just how it is in California. I don't know. To this, and so now that's a perfect time to segue over to movies. Now, movies are supposed to be a reflection, and art, as any art, because art is a reflection of society. And sometimes I really think with certain directors, Kevin Smith's early work, especially, he captured the realism of dialogue. I think out of all the directors, his dialogues tended to be the best when it came to realism. It was the closest thing to a real conversation. And Judd Apatow is also really great. I think Judd Apatow does a great job of I'm sorry, not Manning. I'm sorry. I think Judd Apatow has a way of just really allowing the actors to be comfortable and flow, so that they flow in their own ways. But these types of guys, like the you know how I know you're gay scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin. Who hasn't had a bunch of guys and they're playing video games against that didn't play games like that? I mean, that's how we talk. And right away, I don't want to hear anything. I'm not a homophobe by any chance, and that should be pretty obvious. But some moron will still end up giving me hell for that. But no, I also just recently made that point. There is a channel that is on Facebook, and it is called Growing Up. I think it's called Growing Up in the 80s and 90s. And I mean, they have such funny little references that they post up, but none of the admins will let you be an adult. They all have these like strict, I don't know, Christian or Catholic discipline when it comes to cursing, or even just using the word hate, which I think I talked about before, that the word is so oversaturated, it's lost its meaning. I mean, when you tell someone that you hate them, you don't take that as a really big deal anymore. And it's probably because it never really was. So, no one really gave a shit. And so dialogue to me is really important in film, because again, I want to be able to associate myself with the character. I want to be able to disassociate myself from what's going on in my life, but at the same time, I want something that's not a mirror image, but definitely can agree with. And Judd Apatow did a great job with that. Kevin Smith did a great job with that. Both of them with their earlier work. Now, there is a specific channel on YouTube that I want to find a way to get in touch with this guy. I've sent him a few messages, and I'm hoping I can maybe get an interview out of him, something similar. Basically, this guy talks movies all day, and he is not well known in YouTube, and that's what I like about him. I told you I'm an underground guy, man. I love obscurity and what some would call vanguard. It's just I'm an offbeat person, and I tend to like the more offbeat things. Hell, I love the show The Offbeats. That was one of my favorite shows growing up. I think it was on Kablam. They cool, they the offbeats. And by the way, we're actually doing this idea that's called Flags of False Fathers, and I might change that name. It's not set in stone, but it's just it's a narration that I'll be doing. The topic of the theme is really just 90s, early 90s living in Chicago, and just, just a kind of script that I'm writing. I'm not sure if it's a script or a novel or a manuscript. I have no clue what I'm doing with this, but I narrated about 10 minutes of it, and it actually came out pretty well. So I'm hoping to get some sort of work done on that, as to not animating it, but something similar where we can get a visual of it, any kind of illustration. I'm always looking for illustrating, because I can't even draw a stick figure. Like, I'm that bad at everything when it comes to music, when it comes to my hands. I am very skilled, but for some reason, my penmanship is perfect, but I cannot draw at all. And I failed art in high school. I failed art just to end up taking drafting. And drafting is like art, but 10 billion times harder, because it's like being an architect. You have to get it to the very T. And I could barely make a circle. So why the hell would you want me to take a class that I'm guaranteed to fail? And so my school had done that to me, and I was really pissed at that, because, that's like failing math, and so they give you honors math to make it up. That's okay. So the person couldn't lift 10 pounds, so you told them to lift 20. It's ridiculous. So now, this person that I'm trying to get a good interview with, he was speaking about Quentin Tarantino and Martin Scorsese, both kind of bad-mouthing the modern movie franchises. And if you ever heard what Martin Scorsese said, he had stated that he believes that Marvel movies are more like an amusement park ride rather than a film, because a film should be an experience where a film, it should be a different experience. And so I'm gonna try to explain it by using let's use like Taxi Driver and Thor or Captain America. It doesn't really matter. And in the end, this guy made a really good point, because he was saying that, apparently in Scorsese's words, that in the end you're not really rooting for a character, more like a canonized image that you already have. So this character that you already know and built up, that's the star of the movie. It's not Chris Evans, it's Captain America. And when you put it onto something that's already been canonized, then you are, it definitely makes it different than a film where you're creating a character. You're developing their relationship. You're developing every aspect of it, because you don't know, you literally started from a blank page, where if you're going to write for a Marvel film or a DC film, you have, it's the only thing that producers or production companies are really excited about, is if they get their hands on some franchise that's already got a built-in fan base. That's why they make so many Star Wars and superhero movies. I mean, it's obvious. And it's getting so oversaturated. And so, are you really rooting for Chris Helmsworth? Or are you rooting for... Is it Chris? No. Was it Chris or Liam? I'm going to say Chris. So it's like, are you rooting for Helmsworth or are you rooting for Thor? You're really rooting for Thor. And the elephant in the room for that type of for this conversation he brought up was Robert Downey Jr. Now, you could say that Robert Downey Jr. was a catalyst for the Marvel universe in its entirety. And you could make that argument that because it skyrocketed, because yes, Robert Downey Jr. was a household name anyway, but he was definitely, to me, he was already back because he was just coming back with films after his stint off of, staying out of Hollywood for a little while, and after his trip to the Betty Ford Center. Hi, Eleni Rodriguez, how you been? Talking about Robert Downey Jr., and he made a film before Iron Man, and it was called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and I thought that was actually his best work. And then he did Iron Man, which then shot up and skyrocketed not only his career again, but it also started the Marvel Universe. And so I can definitely understand what Scorsese means by saying that Marvel films are not they're not films. They're movies. They're motion captured amusement park rides. And I can definitely see what he means because you already have this canonized character. So you really don't have to build one. Whereas, let's go again with Taxi Driver. Thank you. It was a great movie, right? Thank you. Thought Val Kilmer was amazing in it. And I feel so bad for what happened to his health because I thought this was both of their comeback movies. So, when you have a movie like Taxi Driver, and then you have a movie like Captain America, The First Avenger, I will admit that when you see Taxi Driver, you're rooting for Travis Bickle, and you shouldn't be, because in a certain way, Travis Bickle is sick and not right in the head. Or in Goodfellas, these men should clearly be arrested, but you're rooting for them. And it's because of these amazing characters, and these are also, already made characters. They just go by history, and they base a lot of these characters off it. So if you watch Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, there's a lot of history involved in it. If you actually learn about the Pinochet regime, I know I say Pinochet and it's Pinochet, but I just like saying it my way. So there's always some sort of historical restoration, and there's always a historical basis for modern film or any film. And you are creating something out of nothing, which, is a type of like abiogenesis. But with Marvel films, it is a lot easier because you already have these characters. I love that comment. So yeah, I definitely understand that now. So what would you say? Would you say that Marvel is a film company? Or would you say that it is an amusement park ride? And so what Quentin Tarantino said was a lot simpler, and he said it actually a lot more elegantly. But he just said that his problem wasn't necessarily with the fact that it's always about comic books. It's his fact. He made a very good point by saying that it's just the fact that it's the only thing that production companies get excited about anymore. So if you have a great idea, and you have this character, and you have this story, and you know who these characters are, and you really have them developed, and you have them completely in your head, and you have created them out of nothing, or you base them off of some family member, does not matter. Your chances of getting that movie passed is almost slim to none right now because of Marvel films and DC. And I think that sucks, and I think that DC uses that to their advantage. You know, they already have. Look at the movie Joker, and you really see a film out of that. I did not see an amusement park ride out of that. I get that with Avengers, but I do not get that with Joker. Or the Batman, for that matter. I feel like they definitely put more depth in DC stories. Let's exclude Batman v Superman, but I think DC tends to make more theatrical film than a comic book ride. And they almost had that with the Punisher for the Marvel universe, but they didn't. They didn't succeed with it because they didn't go far enough. I see you watch my. I see you watch my TikTok. Um, do us a favor. Just subscribe to the show, honey, so we can put you up on here. I would love to give you a shout out on here. So yeah, that's the question. Do you consider them really films, or do you consider them to be a amusement park ride? That's it's an interesting topic. I wonder what other people think. So let us know. That's my time. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. Mine was actually pretty low key. I just had my nephew and my sister over, and so it was just token and Mortal Kombat pretty much all day. So, yep, I am gonna go call my daughter for her birthday. Hopefully, shouldn't be home from school yet, but we love you all. Thank you so much for watching the show. I might put out that audio onto some sort of video for now until we can get some cool frames for it, and we'll definitely redevelop it later. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eleni. I love you, and if I am brutalizing, if I'm completely brutal, if I'm just ruining your name, please let me know. I know we go way back, but I just suck with pronunciations. So, thank you guys so much. I love you guys. Always hit us up on uselessagentmusic@gmail.com. You find our music on Spotify, SoundCloud, literally every damn place you can be. Remember, if you're on the page, grew up in the 80s and 90s, or born and raised in the 80s and 90s, get rid of that page because those people suck